Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Let's talk election 2025. Is it a harbinger of 2026? It was a very, very interesting night. Wow, Elon Musk's money, and I will say George Soros's money, I think it might have helped the Democratic candidate become, or really the left leaning candidate become, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But there was much more going on. Many people said that Elon Musk lost. Yeah, well, his money did not push his candidate over the top for sure. And it became about him. What was that cheesehead about? And many people said that was a political miscalculation because he made it about him and not about the issues. Well, and he does have an interest because of his car company in Wisconsin. Well, there are a lot of pieces moving there. And his side, the side that he poured so much money into, so much money that it pushed it over the top and made it the most expensive statewide race in the history of the United States. Well, his side came up short. But that's kind of where we are in America right now. And, well, even though in the first and sixth congressional districts in Florida, even though Republicans prevailed, they did not prevail as resoundingly as they did in the 2024 November election. In the first district of Florida, congressional district, 33 points was the margin of victory. In the sixth district in 2024 November, 30 points. Well, those margins were cut by half. So what's going on? When you look at these town hall meetings, I'm thinking that we need to read them much more closely. But let's look at what happened in the elections in Wisconsin and in Florida and what that means. And then, of course, we had Ron Reynolds, State Representative Ron Reynolds from Texas with us yesterday, saying that informing us that Governor Greg Abbott has yet to call for a special election to fill the seat held by longtime Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Well, it was filled. It was filled after her untimely death. But the gentleman who filled it, the former mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner, he died suddenly right after the State of the Union address. It was shocking. He and Congressman Cleo Fields and Congressman Jonathan Jackson created the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Caucus in the House of Representatives, so you could know how they're feeling, because they were all together at the State of the Union. He wasn't feeling well at the State of the Union. He went to the hospital and died hours later. And yet the governor has not called a date to fill that seat. So those constituents do not have a representative. They're holding votes in the House of Representatives, not right now because they went on a break, but they're holding votes, but that seat remains unfilled. How just is that? I mean, because it means that the balance is off. That means that Democrats are short a vote. That's what that means. That district goes more than 80% Democrat consistently. There's a lot on the table. And so I wanted to bring together this brilliant panel to talk about it. Attorney Daryl Jones, the only guy here, we have to be nice to him, ladies. That's right. The dapper Daryl Jones, Esquire. Of course, on WOL with Barbara Arnwine every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Brilliant lawyer, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition, one of the foremost advocates for the vote in the country today. Ariel Gold, Fellowship of Reconciliation. This organization pulls people together of all faiths. All faiths. This was something that Dr. King championed, something that my father's championed. People of goodwill have championed this organization and your mission for many, many years. And she's the first Jewish person to head this organization, and what a blessing it is to have you there with your history at this particular time. We're so grateful for that. Rania Patrice, Palestinian American, Democratic activist par excellence, and her hair is flat and tidy today. You haven't pulled it out. And I think because we had a night that did not exasperate, should we celebrate? I mean, did the Democrats win or did the Republicans lose? Or is it a little bit of both? Or just how do you analyze it? Because from here, we're going into a special election, of course, whenever Greg Abbott calls it in Texas. And we are really moving, just full on into 2026. I mean, we're here. We're in that season now. People are campaigning, people are raising money. What did you make of last night's results? Right?
Yeah, I think this is such an important question. And I'll tell you, I was, I work with so many young people
Mm-hmm.
and so many folks that work in politics too. And a lot of these young people who work in politics, who work on campaigns. And there was a lot of celebrating last night. And I felt a little bit like the downer last night, because I said to them, I said, listen, let's have tonight. Let's have tonight,
Mm-hmm.
but let's not sit on this, because this is not enough. This is a moment. It's an important moment. And I will say, I do think Wisconsin in particular, you've heard me harp on this for a long time, Wisconsin does year-round organizing. And I think that is a lot of what we saw yesterday. Yeah, there was a ton of money. We're not going to pretend like that wasn't it on both, expenditures on both sides. But Wisconsin organizes all year round. That is an investment.
Can you explain that? Explain
Absolutely.
that. What do you mean by that?
So state parties, and I've worked with the Wisconsin with the WisDems, as they call themselves, the Wisconsin Democratic Party, for many years, and in other state parties across the country. And I will tell you, they're one of my favorite parties to work with, because they are very savvy, they're very committed, and they are working all year round. They are organizing all year round. They are talking to people all year round.
Mm-hmm.
Most state parties, and the national party, the DNC too, they try to flip a switch 6, 8, 10, maybe 12 months ahead of an election cycle. And that's when the organizing starts. That's when they start making phone calls. That's when they start canvassing. That's when they start talking to people. That's not how they do it in Wisconsin. They're doing it all year round. And it is an investment. That stuff costs money. Of course it does. But it is a decision that they made, a choice that they made. It is dollars that they spend, and they raise and they spend those dollars so that they can talk to people 365 days a year.
Well, then, let me ask you about that. So, are they able to get resources from the national party, or are they really more internally focused? I mean, do they raise their own money? Because Wisconsin's is one of those very interesting states like California. It leans real left, it leans real far right. It's urban, it's urbane, it is rural, it's farm country, it's university centered. I mean, there's just
all the things. It's all the things. They raise the majority of the money. They raise it themselves. And this is a part of the thing too that I do appreciate about, and this is complicated because Ben Wickler ran for DNC chair, and I was not super happy with some of the choices that were made. But Ben is an old friend who I've worked with, but I credit where credit is due. Ben has made some very creative and strategic choices in fundraising too. I always I talk about some of the things that we did even in 2020 when everything was locked down. We did the very first script reads with celebrities over Zoom, and these for films and things like that. The first ones that we did were in Wisconsin, and seemed at the time it was kind of an outlandish, outside the box, crazy idea. And Ben and his team were like, let's give it a try. You know what I mean? And so I'm saying all these things just to say they have done things outside the box for a very long time. They believe in deep community organizing. And I think we see that cycle in and cycle out. And I will remind everybody that Tammy Baldwin won her reelection in 2024. And so, and as much as, I don't want to, well, maybe we should be relitigating 2024, but,
You should.
I do think, yeah, it's an important
I,
point.
I only say that because we haven't done the post-mortem on it yet. We're getting, you know what I mean? Ariel
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Norman Solomon
Yeah.
and Jeff Cohen always get a lot of heat for this, but they do the real post-mortems, Daryl, on these campaigns. And if you read the post-mortem from the campaign, it was from 2016. It's Rania. It sounded like they were writing about 2024. I mean, and it was so detailed, but it was also very easy to read, very accessible. And it's like no one listened to them. All people did was look at them and say, "You're blasphemous," because they're the ones who also roots action. And I love Norman Solomon and Jeff Cohen. I love them. And because I think that they are true blue. And I don't mean Democrats. I mean, just in principle, they want the country to get better. And they continue to push the Democrats, into their natural base. I mean, I think because what we're seeing now, Rania, and you encounter it, and you try to bring it back to Washington and tell them, look, this is where our people feel disappointed, where they even feel betrayed. And you are almost like a voice in the wilderness. That's why, I mean, I'm not
always. No, it's so true. But I do think, I do think, again, Wisconsin this is a great little snapshot. It was Susan Crawford very much made Elon Musk the villain. But she also was talking about what she was standing for at the same time, which how many times have we talked about this? Like the
but didn't he insert himself? I mean,
oh gosh, oh my God, absolutely.
I mean, it's like he was appearing at rallies. I mean, come on,
absolutely, because that's who he is. That's who he is. He inserted himself, so she made him the villain because it was easy to do. But I guess my point more than that is that it's not all she did. She wasn't running around the state only saying Elon Musk is a danger to all of us, which of course he is, and she's not wrong. She was also saying, here's what I stand for as well. And I think this is where we sometimes get lost in all of this. And we saw it in 2016 and we saw it a little bit in 2024 too, frankly, where we're like the anti message and not enough of like who we are and what we're going to do and how we're going to make life better for people. I mean, she's running for as a justice, so it's a little different, but she still talked about her principles and what she stood for.
But you know what, I think what she was doing when I saw her commenting on Elon Musk, she reluctantly commented because she had to respond to his appearance. I mean, at some point it wasn't like she you're right, she wasn't campaigning on Elon Musk. She said, okay, look, didn't want to bring it up, but since you have, what he's doing is not helpful. And I think she kept it lofty. She didn't make a partisan issue. I think she was talking about dark money more than Elon Musk.
But his dark money specifically, because people, and to your point about the makeup of Wisconsin, there are farmers in Wisconsin. There are also, there are universities in Wisconsin. The makeup of Wisconsin is so diverse, and the pain that is being inflicted on Wisconsin because of the Doge decisions, it's being felt. So it's not like he's some random guy coming in dumping a bunch of money and we don't know who he is. We know who he is. I mean, I say we, I'm not a Wisconsinite. I am a Texan, however, so we can get back to Abbott in a second. But it is, I do think she and her campaign did a lot of things right. I think the Wisdoms did a lot of things right. I also think if we take this and do a victory lap and pat ourselves on the back and think that, okay, our work here is done, I think we're in big trouble.
We've got our sister over here. She's about to do the hallelujah dance. Come on.
Ronnie is a Texan. I'm a Jersey girl. So I have to say that my senator showed us what an actual Democrat should look like. There was at least one Democrat in the party yesterday.
And let us
On
acknowledge.
the floor of Congress yesterday. So what
Cory
I think
Booker.
this election showed us is that
Right.
the Democratic Party has a pulse, which we weren't quite sure that it did, and it's a faint one. So let's be aware of that. This is a really tumultuous time with all the back and forth and everything that Trump is throwing at us. And we shouldn't be surprised to see that his and Musk's ratings dropped. That's not actually a win for the Democrats because, as Rania was saying, we need to know what the Democratic Party is for. What is the Democratic Party about? What are we going to do? So Donald Trump is speaking right now. Me kind of glancing off.
Yeah, I am
in
too.
The background. He's speaking.
The 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles.
Yes, imposing tariffs. And what he did, so I'm not going to comment on his tariffs, but he has UAW workers there in the audience, and he had one of them come up and speak and talk about very real about what happened to Detroit and watching the auto plants close and close and close. This used to be a Democratic issue, right? Remember Michael Moore in the movie? And
Roger and me.
Trump's going to solve that, but having real people talking about what's really happened in our country, which yes, a lot has to do with NAFTA and trade and so on, really says something, right? What it's saying, and I've been saying this for a while, is that Donald Trump has been able to say to the American people who are struggling, I hear you and I see you. And I know that you are in pain. And that's what Donald Trump has been able to do. And in the meantime, overall, the Democratic Party has been taking victory laps. I mean, even after we horrifically lost the 2024 election, if you listened to the DNC convention, you heard a lot of applauding us, right? Oh, the Democrats, we did so good. Our convention was amazing, and we're taking another victory lap now. What yesterday really showed to me was that we have a pulse, but it's a weak one. And
now, come on, Cory Booker.
Oh no! Cory Booker gave us a heartbeat yesterday.
But when I saw at the end like this,
showed.
I said, "Is this what it takes?" I mean, someone who's speaking like for 25 hours. I mean, unfortunately, Chris Murphy.
We need that kind of resuscitation, right? If we're going to think of this as like a pulse, right? We need resuscitation, and that was yesterday. Now, can it be followed up with policy?
Oh, do we need a blood transfusion?
We need a blood transfusion.
Okay. I mean, some new blood, right? Isn't that what you were just saying, Rania? I mean, come on.
Yep.
And listen, can I just say, I'm sorry. I have to say it or my brain might explode. I might pull my hair out right now. I've done a ton of work with Senator Booker in his office, and I appreciate the moment, and I do think it was important, but the man had time to put on a yellow ribbon, but didn't have the time to mention reparations. And he carries S-40. He carries the reparation bill in the Senate. It is his bill. And he didn't have 25 hours to mention reparations.
But Rania, come on, keep it 100. It looked like he was running for president.
Oh,
of course, that was his announcement.
I mean, I'm not mad at him. Look,
of course, that's what he was doing.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Better than the golden escalator.
I'm not mad at him. I said, no, this is
good.
No,
it was. I mean, listen, when we're talking about like Chuck Schumer, and y'all have heard me wax poetic about Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and all my feelings there. So yeah, it was a shot of life, and I get it, but I'm also like,
where's the policy to follow it up? Where's the policy?
But also where it's gutting to me that that you've got the time to do that, but not anyway. Whatever.
Well, that's policy, right?
I've
that's
got
the concrete
feelings.
policy that it needs to be followed up with. That it needs to be
Yeah,
paired.
but I don't even care if he talks about S40 specifically. But like this guy who I've worked with for years and talks about justice and equity and love and all the things all the time. And actually that whole, if you want to really get real, that whole speech was about the need for reparations. All of it, everything he was talking about, you could draw a through line. But he didn't. And I don't care if he says S40. I don't care about that. I'm saying, but like, say the thing, Anyway, I'm gonna stop now. I'll stop.
No, I told you. I said, look at her hair. It's all coiffed and wig is busted. I said, in a minute, she's gonna look like she has been stuck in a socket. Because if your hair, matched the exasperated looks, between your facial expressions and Rania going and Ariel going like this, I don't know what I'm going to do with you all, and I'm just so upset. I always tell you all, I'm leaving. I'm done. That's it. We are the trio, but we're gonna let this gentleman in. Bless his heart.
Yeah. Sorry, Daryl. Gosh.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It was very interesting to sit and listen to the conversation. I come from perhaps a similar but somewhat slightly different perspective. I think the Democrats had a very good 2 days, a very good 2 days, and I say that in this perspective with Senator Cory Booker. Him having the fortitude, having the strength to stand up and be defiant and to fight back and to say, I'm going to stop proceedings from going on. I want to talk. I'm going to be the peg in the wall to just stop this water from coming through. So that's what he was displaying with regards to what he was doing, and the whole beating the record and everything else with regards to the Civil Rights Act and sort of filibustering, if you will, for that length of time. It was impressive. It was an impressive initial step. Yeah. In the words of Joe Madison, what are you going to do about it? Okay, we got it. We heard you. Now what? And that becomes the question. I say a good 2 days because when I look at Wisconsin, right, more so than Florida, but Florida too, right, in Wisconsin, what they were able to do, I think, very effectively, was to let Elon Musk know that he's not a politician. Right? Yeah, and people, somehow people got the impression that because he's hanging out with President Trump that he's a politician. Elon Musk is not a politician. He doesn't. I don't believe he gets the feeling nor cares about the feeling of the masses of people. He does care about trying to influence folks, but in terms of getting his fingers on the pulse to understand how that translates to votes, I don't think that he gets that.
But Daryl, hold on. I don't think he cares even about that. I think he saw that he was not winning. So these are people who are autocrats.
Mm-hmm.
They don't believe in elections. Elections are really performative for them. These are folks who are running the country. I don't care what you say. I'm not saying you. I'm saying they're like, no, yeah, okay, great. I wasn't elected, but I want you all to know who really runs this camp. We do. And so I just think in furtherance of your point, I think he saw it takes a little bit more. So did you just see this senator who was confronted by a government worker?
Mm-hmm.
And this man said to him contemptuously, it wasn't even dismissive. He said, what about, because this man wasn't even begging for his job back. He said, what are you going to do about my job took care of people who are physically challenged, who are disabled. What are you going to do? What are we going to do about these people whose needs will not get met? He said, you probably didn't deserve your job anyway. That's that crew. It's hard to believe, Daryl, but there are some people who really have that kind of contempt for humanity.
Right.
Because this is someone who's on record saying, I'm missing the empathy chip. You can't make this stuff up. Right. So if you're missing the empathy chip, I don't know what to say to you.
Right. And, you know, you would call the empathy chip, some call it being tone deaf, right? They're just not, they're not hearing it. You know, they're not even consuming what they're seeing. And that's the scary part. And so, you know, when I lift up Wisconsin, I say that the voters in Wisconsin, I think that Rainey was 100% on point, because my phone was blowing up last night from all of our Gen Zs in Wisconsin. They're talking about, we did it, we did it, we did it, we got the vote out, you know, we've defeated this, we defeated this, we defeated this. And I think that that serves as a bugle or a horn or a wake-up call to let those that are in the Democratic Party and that want to resist the changes that the government currently is making, to let them know that there is light at the end of this tunnel, that there is the possibility to fight back and to win. And so I think that when you put what has happened in Wisconsin and you team that up with what Senator Cory Booker was doing, was just fighting back, that sort of serves as that excitement, and can excite the base to let them know that they need to get out this April the 5th, right? When they're going to have this, you know, take back our government, or whatever the phraseology is that they're using all across the country, rallies all around the country. That is all part of that. How does Florida fall into all of that? Well, you know, I think Florida falls into all of that, Santita, as you were laying it out. The two districts, I think it's the 1st and the 6th congressional districts that we were looking at, where these elections, these special elections were occurring. President Trump won them by like 30-some percentage.
33, I just remember 33 and 30%.
Right, 33 and 30% of the vote.
Unbelievable.
This time through, it's cut in half. You know, it's cut in half. So there is an impact that's there. There is that chorus of voices of dissent that are growing, and they're saying, we're not going to have it. Wisconsin let folks know, we're not going to have it here in Wisconsin. It ain't happening. You know, we understand what you're trying to do. It's not happening. And I think that one of the things that Rania was talking about, Rania or Rania, I apologize.
It's okay, Rania, Tanya with an R.
Tanya with okay, Rania. One of the things that Rania was talking about that you know, I so vividly witnessed when I was in Wisconsin was the cohesiveness, the togetherness of the union workers. Right, when it was time to get out there and campaign and vote, they were getting out there to get it done together. You know, and when I see that type of excitement that's building. And I have an opportunity to see the young folks that are excited about the election and are excited about the results. I feel inspired, and I think that if you're one of those people that's the pushback against the oligarchy, you should feel inspired by what you saw in Wisconsin, by what you saw in Florida, by what you saw in Cory Booker, by what you saw with Congressman Al Green. I think that you should feel inspired.
I agree with you. I think that they should feel inspired, and I think though, as Rania, Tanya with an R, like my Santita, Santina, everybody. I'm not mad at you, because my mother would make me do that with no front teeth. Maybe get on those T's.
Oh.
Yes. That having been all jokes, that is true. I'm traumatized still. What's interesting about all of this is that I think you made the point that Democrats can't rest on their laurels, because to me this was less about the party and more about the policy. And you know, because Democrats' popularity is still at low ebb. It's at the lowest ebb that it's ever been. And we have to look at these young people. See, because I've got nieces and nephews and godchildren who are from another generation. I mean, they're not 25, so they have known nothing but wars. They have a black person and a woman being on the ticket has been normalized for them. For us, it was groundbreaking. For them, it's like passe. They're like, so what are you delivering to me? What did Janet Jackson say? Yes, I'm going back for all us. Whoop, whoop, back in the day. What have you done for me lately? Come on, give it to me, Jimmy and Terry. Give me that beat. I mean, seriously. And so I think that Democrats are going to have to come up with something, um, and not even just Democrats. The system is not what it was, everybody. And I think we need to acknowledge that, because I'm telling you, Daryl, and Ronnie, you've seen it, Ariel too. You can't talk to these young people about a party, so to speak. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear about policy. They're upset that they're watching people being thrown. We got the police state here. Folks with masks are walking up to people and they're taking them off the streets and they're disappearing them. And see, what the little piece, as you well know, Ariel, is that what they did at Columbia, it was violent at CUNY, which is just straight up Broadway, about 30 or 40 blocks, right, Ariel? I mean, that's City University of New York is straight up Broadway's, a couple of subway stops ahead. I used to live there and I performed there. It's right up the street. They accosted and arrested these students at Columbia. They beat the CUNY students up. On the ground, people see that. These kids see that. The kids at Columbia saw it. They heard it. And so there's a whole, I think we need to, as we're looking at these races, because we're also in the first blush of people losing their jobs. What are you going to do for an encore? Because see, in June, it's going to get real. These checks are going to stop. You're going to really feel it. September, it's going to be a different ball game. And if you just keep on going into the year, when these tariffs take place, I mean, because what is the external? We've got the Internal Revenue Service. What is External Revenue Service? And I've talked to progressive economists. I'm like, wait a minute, what does this mean? I mean, is he trying to abolish the income taxes? And when I ask people that, they're like, oh, I said, wait a minute, because the income taxes came into being a little more than 100 years ago. We didn't always have them. What are they doing? And I think we need to figure that out, because they're going to make the argument to the people. Rania, Daryl, Ariel, it's just like what the Republicans did was very smart in Wisconsin. They did big ad buys in black media, which Democrats do not do. And I promise you, all they're gonna do is amp that up.
Well, and can I just say, please add on to what or continue on. You said it's not because of the Democratic Party. I would say it's despite the Democratic Party. And I mean, despite the Democratic leadership and what has been put in front of us, and what has been put in front of us as acceptable, or as sort of like, if we're following the lead of the leadership, which my feelings, I would say all of this is in spite of. And I think that young energy, Daryl, that you're talking about, and the kids that I'm working with, and all these things that we're seeing, I think it is literally, it's not because they don't want to feel disenfranchised. They don't want to feel like they don't have a place to go. They want to be active. They want to have a place to go. And so when they feel that energy and they feel their values being upheld, and they feel that alignment, they're like, yep, I'm going. But it feels very much despite that federal, and I'm going to specifically say that federal leadership that is being put in front of us as our option, which we all know is not our only option. But yeah, I just had to say that.
No, but Ronnie, I think it has to be said, Ariel and Daryl, because see, the thing is, that's the postmortem, because that's the piece that, it's like, wait a minute, Democrats don't get too excited, like walking out of the convention in Chicago. Everybody was so excited. And I was like, you have some people who are real warm walking out of this convention. And I don't see a plan to rectify these hurt feelings. See, because I've seen people walk out of Democratic conventions very angry, and I saw a reverend working to repair the breach, to close it. And our supporters knew that we had been wronged, and we had been disrespected. And when you disrespect the candidate, you're disrespecting their supporters. Yeah. Now, that didn't happen. you had Vice President Harris who sat down with the head of, what was it, one of the big unions, and said, well, you need to get on this train. We're going to win with or without you. No, wait a minute. And then Biden told her, one of the deepest cuts of all, no daylight, kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and it's the same party, the same people running it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that Rania makes a salient point, that this is despite. And so, because I think that as valiant as Cory Booker was, and I was so proud of him, I am so proud of him, because I've, even though I felt it was presidential, but look, why not take your shot? Because this is a time to do that. And we need that. And people need to see someone like him standing for them. Are you kidding me? Someone who's making the case, because you already had Chuck Schumer who capitulated. People are angry about that. So he did the right thing. But you got to go another step, which Ariel, I think she's making that point, because Gaza's still an issue. Ukraine is an issue. Haiti's an issue. Wait a minute, eggs are an issue. Now, you're not going to be able to get your car repaired because you're not going to be able to afford the parts. Oh, did I say rent? Oh, mortgages. When you tell someone, perhaps you didn't deserve your job anyway, this man rents or has a house. Are you serious? And the Democrats should have been out on the hustings talking about that immediately. They should have jumped on that.
Sometimes Democrats don't know how to take an opportunity when it's right in front of them.
Oh.
So as Trump is doing this, I would love to hear the Democrats say health care for all. Medicare for all. We are for something. We want Medicare for all. We want free college tuition. Say some broad, bold things. We're always like just doing the least and, just hating on Elon Musk and isn't he terrible? So you'll have to vote for us because you got no other choice. And we need to get bold with this. The Democrats need to come out strong, and we've got the opportunity, right? Here it is. Here is the opportunity. Trump is cracking down on universities. So I would love to hear the Democrats go all in on free speech.
Like Speaker Johnson did when he went up to Columbia.
Yep.
Chuck Schumer needs to go to Columbia. The problem is Chuck Schumer agrees with it.
Mm-hmm.
Problem.
See, that is a problem. It's like, wait a minute, honey, that's a problem, because a lot of these people agree with this. I mean, and I'm not just talking about what happened at Columbia. I mean, just like,
which is authoritarianism. And if you agree with authoritarianism, then again, you're just walking around with Liz Cheney again. Wow. So what happened to, where is the Democratic Party of Roosevelt, of free speech and protection of the First Amendment? We need, and who's going to take bold action to really help the American people, because the American people are hurting. Trump is right about that.
I can't believe
that. Yeah, but Trump is also hurting Trump is also hurting the American
absolutely.
People, right? And speak to any of the federal employees that he has now laid off. Speak to any of the federal employees that are coming out of Health and Human Services.
But the Democrats aren't saying. The Democrats have to say that though, Daryl. Yeah. I mean, they have to get up and do, and not just say something, do something.
But do something.
What did you say? Get that cane?
Absolutely.
And say, hey, wait a minute, I dissent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly that if you're going to be the opposition party, you got to oppose, right? You got to speak up. You got to say something. You can't sit back and say, well, I'm going to wait for them to become unpopular. That's not the position.
But Daryl, even worse than that. Chuck Schumer went on national television. He went on a whole press tour and said, our democracy is not under threat. Our Constitution is not under threat yet. That's what he said. That's what he told us. And those are his words. It's not like, I'm not saying that was his that's what he was sort of saying. That is what he said. He told us all to chill and wait because we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm on radio. I'm speaking.
Exactly.
Look.
I'm like,
Ronnie, you're probably a little too young for this one.
You. Okay.
And Santita, I know you'll appreciate this one. We can't do the rope-a-dope, right? I mean, we can't sit there and just take punch after punch after punch and not respond. You know, that's not what the American people that can do. It's not what the Democratic Party should be doing. You know, they've got to go punch for punch. They got to figure out how to raise that cane, how to take over the stand, how to be certain that their voice is being heard and they're not simply sitting back and letting it happen. And let me tell you, you know, as we're having this discussion and we're talking about Florida, we're talking about how great the turnout was in Wisconsin and the results in Wisconsin. If you're a Democrat, what you enjoy about it, understand this. The Republican Party is not sitting back doing a rope-a-dope while this is happening. You know, they are planning based on what happened in Wisconsin. There are plans they're putting in place right now. You know, there's a strategy that's being put in place right now as a result of the loss and the percentage of the win in districts 1 and 6 in the congressional districts in Florida. They're putting plans in place right now to be certain that this doesn't happen again. How do we stop this from happening? How do we stop them from making any progress? That's being put in place. That's what we're not hearing from the Democratic side. Is the plan that's being in place.
But Daryl, I think we're looking in the wrong place because my father's always said that change doesn't start at the White House, it starts in your house.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on Wall Street, it's on Main Street. We're the ones who have to do that. I will give the Republicans credit for this. They saw a guy, they didn't like him for this, that, and the third, all of these different reasons. But you know what they did? They followed him because he was following the people. They said, okay, well, we've got an agenda. We're going to ride this horse. We need to lead the party. The party should not lead us. I'm from Chicago. There's no way that I'm going to let the party lead me anywhere because they will lead me into the lake, Michigan, the ninth largest inland body of water in the world. And I ain't going to make it out. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. This is the Democratic machine town. So I already know, I know where that's going. It's going nowhere fast. I know whenever we have made progress, we've had to be the ones to make the progress. They've given us nothing, and I'm not going to wait for them to give me anything.
Nope. That's it. You've heard me say, rarely does a politician wake up deciding they're going to do the right thing. We have to force them. And I believe that. I say it as a joke, but I'm not joking because we know it's true. I mean, there are exceptions, of course. We know that. But the reality is we have to force it. And we've seen it throughout history. That's the other thing is we know, Daryl, to your point, none of this is new. Unfortunately, I mean, some of this is new, but really this is not new. We have to force them. And to your point, Santita, it is us that forces them. And we see, just like you said earlier too, Santita, we see these Republicans yelling at their Republican members of Congress. We see these farmers who are pissed, they're angry because they are feeling the pain of these decisions. And that's, we obviously need more of that, but then that doesn't mean we all take a back seat and go, okay, y'all go nuts.
I think that's our victory lap. The Democratic Party thinks that's the victory lap, right? Trump does something
but also to Daryl's point, I mean, I will never forget the gutting, deep disappointment when that Dobbs decision leaked. That was a 50-year strategy by Republicans. And we didn't, the memo leaked and we were caught on our heels when the actual decision came out. Like
affirmative action.
Yes.
That's starting with Brown v. Board of Education. I'm like, what are you talking about? How is it that you are caught behind the 8 ball on all these decisions? Phyllis Schlafly, who we remember as children. These people have been out here and they play the long game.
That's right. And you know how
Trump is on TV right now talking about tariffs. He is not even discussing last night.
Nope.
And they held on to 2 seats. What we should be doing is talking about, okay, Governor Abbott, when are you going to have an election?
Mm-hmm.
We need that Turner Jackson Lee seat filled. What are you doing? That should be a national issue. It's so simple.
Yeah. Yep.
So, okay, we got about 7 or 8 minutes left, and I'm gonna stop. Well, I'm just gonna go on because I tell you, I feel like we're in Washington together, like we were a couple of months ago, where I'm about to pull out my hair and wrap my ponytail around my neck. I just want to know, okay, what's the plan? My family here, because the thing is, we're in the 2026 election.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. We're here. And I think what you saw with Cory Booker, we saw like a town hall meeting. I mean, it's just, and I think all these senators, they need to clog up the clock. They need to run the clock and stop these votes. I mean, what Cory Booker showed you textbook yesterday was how you can stop everything. He didn't yield,
Mm-hmm.
and they should be rotating. Because what these folks are doing, these executive orders are gutting us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, and some people are trying to figure out, well, is he trying to tank the economy? I don't know. They're not even asking these questions. You got a Republican senator who looked a person in the face and said, maybe you needed to be fired anyway. Oh my gosh, who does that? And what opposition party doesn't seize upon it and say something? And say, how could you? That should have been a talking point this morning on radio and television. I didn't hear anything about it.
They should have had him on every news station. They should have scooped him up and had him on every single talk show out there, on every cable news show, on every broadcast show out there. That's what they should have done.
That's right.
Him, not anybody else. Not the like that. That's it. Oh, anyway, yeah. Yes.
No, it's not in any way. No. But I'm no, because I think we have to stop waiting for them. We have to do it.
Yeah.
We have to find him and put him on shows.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do it because this is not even about the party, because the people, as we know, the people who populate the party at the top are very comfortable.
Yeah.
They get contracts,
Mm-hmm.
they're consultants, they make a lot of money, and comfort is its own anesthesia.
Absolutely.
And it's a little dangerous. What did Michelle Obama say? Honey, we got to run now, because now we're in the Senate and we're both very comfortable. In 4 more years, we're going to be so comfortable, we will be useless. We won't be hungry anymore,
Right.
or as hungry. So, look, I want to get a couple of minutes from each of you, because, okay, doctors, write the prescription. Okay? Poor Daryl, you've been surrounded by the women. We'll let you go first.
Lucky Daryl.
No, but it's been awesome, and I tell you, Santita, I think that much to your point, comfort by silence, and that's what you've got to be careful about. People that are comfortable don't want to do anything to interrupt their comfort, and so they'll be silent so long as they continue to be comfortable. And you've got to be a person that's willing to stand up and become perhaps uncomfortable, right, in your position, and not be silent, because the much larger hurt that will be impacted by your silence. Just because you've achieved and because it's not hurting you right now, does not mean that you should be silent because you're not being hurt. You've got to speak up. And I tell you, and I think one of the big points that I certainly would lay out, Santita, is this. I encourage everybody to go to Google Hands Off Rally, the Hands Off Rally, because there are hands off rallies going on all across this country on Saturday, April the 5th. And so I encourage everyone to go out, and if you want to be heard, this is your chance to be heard, is to get out there and to be heard. Now is the time for you to get involved in the election season for 2026. This is the cycle. The cycle has begun. We are in that cycle. And the question is, Will you be a part of it? Or are you going to be standing on the sides of the street wondering, boy, watch all of this stuff go by. I hope no one gets hurt. You need to get in the streets. You need to get involved, and need to try to be certain that you're doing your part to be certain that no one gets hurt. So you got to get registered, you got to vote, and you got to be involved, and you have to hold elected officials accountable. That, I believe, Santita, is where we are right now. It's no longer a time of silence. It's a time to hold up that cane and protest.
Hold up that cane and protest. Ariel?
Yeah, so you got me thinking, Daryl, about a couple things, but one of them is I've been having conversations inside Jewish American community, and there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of change taking place, and there's a lot of fear, and so you have a lot of Jewish Americans that are afraid of what's happening on campus, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, even if that change is good. And I say that like Mahmoud Khalil says, the liberation of Palestine will liberate Jews well, but it's an uncomfortable place to be. And we have to pass that discomfort to stand for our principles. And in this case, we're talking freedom of speech and freedom of education, right? Leaving the universities alone, hands off the universities. And so as Democrats in this situation, that's so much of what it reminds me of. And instead of being the champions of free speech, we have, the Trump administration kidnapping people off the streets and blackmailing our universities. And then we have Schumer being like, job well done. Thank you for that. So that is we have to get back to our principles. And alongside those, I was thinking, like, how did we get here during this conversation? And then I thought, oh, yeah, well, it was the Democratic Party that dismantled our social safety net, that undid our welfare system, to take care of the least of us. So let's own that, right? We have made some mistakes as a party. Let's own that. And let's get back to caring for the least of us, providing housing and healthcare and education and food for all. And it's that kind of boldness that can give us any hope of defeating this authoritarianism that is coming at us like a freight train at full speed.
And we will draw all men, women, and children unto us if we do that. Ronnie or Patrice, you have the final word.
So a couple quick things. Definitely, like Daryl said, check out the hands-off rallies that are happening across the country and in DC, and also happening in DC an hour after the hands-off rally is a ceasefire rally. So please join both. And the other thing that I would just I can't impress upon people enough. I think oftentimes, especially there's so many new people coming in into the movements, into these coalitions, there is this feeling of like, I went to the rally, I went to the march, my work here is done. Mm-hmm. We have to remember your work is not done. It feels good to be in community with each other, but that is the beginning of the work, right? There are calls to make, there are doors to knock on, there are conversations to have within your own communities and families and colleagues and all the things. And so please, please, please remember that is not the end of it. It is oftentimes just the beginning of it. And then one just final thing in the vein of despite the Democratic Party, please pay attention as we're talking about going into the 2026 election. There are other races happening in 2025. Yeah. And there in 2025 and in 2026, there are some really incredible people running for office, really, truly incredible people. So I just encourage everyone to pay attention. I know that's hard to do. I know it's a lot of work. There's so much going on, but really see who is it? Who is running for your school board? Who is running for your state rep? Who is running for governor? Who's running for your state house? All these offices, like, pay attention. There's some good people out there, and there's some not so good people out there. But those good people, maybe we'll have another conversation about them later. But there's some good folks out there.
Because that good person could be someone who's listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You should run. And you don't need money. What you need is a message.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be surprised. With no money, you can do so much. We've run campaigns where we had no money, but we had a message. We had the people,
Mhm.
and if the people lift you, you carry
Yeah.
the people. The people will carry you. That's all. That's all that matters right now.
Absolutely.
That's what you need to do. We need to be in service of the people. That's it. So don't wait
Yeah.
for any party to do anything. We're the party of the people.
Exactly.
Now, you can ride on a donkey or you can ride on an elephant. I choose the donkey, but you know what? If you choose the elephant, all I ask is that when you are out in the field or in the jungle, would you please bring some of the crops back home for everybody?
Mhm.
That's all I'm asking. You can be wherever you want to be, but what I need you to do when you come back home is bring it on home to me, as Sam Cooke said. That's what you need to do. And of course, Lou Rawls was on that wonderful song. That's right. Come on, bring it on home to me. We need the bacon. My apologies to you, Ariel. We need the food.
Turkey bacon. Turkey bacon.
Turkey bacon.
Not me. I'm sorry, I want the pig, but I ain't mad at you.
We need the brisket.
I know. Well, brisket too. But look. Let me tell you, I'm gonna bring it all because I want everybody to eat. Do your thing. That's right. You sound. Well, my brothers, my baby brother and baby sister are vegan, so whatever. What boring. Whatever. But I mean, really, everybody, get out here and do the work because you saw from last night just how important people power is. You have the power. You can make things happen. And don't look to the White House. Don't look to Wall Street. Look to your street. Look to your block. Look to your house. That's what you need to do. That's where the change comes from. A changed mind changes everything. Stacey Abrams ran and she said, "Yeah, I'm broke. Yeah, I've got debt. I've got all of that. I've got bill collectors calling me, but I've got you calling me too, and I'm gonna run on."
Yep.
So what? That doesn't mean anything. Get out here and let's do the work, and stop picking everybody apart. You're not gonna find a perfect person to run anything, and if they say they're perfect, you better watch out because you have got someone who is very imperfect on your hands. You ought to have someone first who has the spirit to serve.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need. Stay tuned for the second hour with John Nichols. That's right. He's going to tell us what he saw in Wisconsin. But he's going to be writing about everything. That's right. And Dr. Kwaku. He is a brilliant doctor who's an organizer on the ground in Milwaukee. I'm so excited to have them in the next hour to talk about, really, I'm going to bring up your point, Rania, that they've been organizing. And these are two people who organize all the time. That's what they do.
Absolutely.
Their lessons. We got to jump on Texas. We're going to get Ron Reynolds back on so he can talk to us about Texas and when they're going to have that race to fill that empty seat because they're doing votes with, and they could have filled that seat already. They could have done that. They could have done that. Sending you so much love. More of the Santita Jackson Show in a couple seconds. Just click that other link. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota.
Bye-bye.